Hi guys, welcome to this quick introduction to my new script, CrowdCodile. It's not easy to pronounce. Well, I might change its name later on. So, what is this script about? It's just about generating crowds inside After Effects. There are a lot of tutorials on how to do that with a Trapcode particular, which is really a nice option if you need to create static crowds or background crowds, but you don't have a lot of action once you have generated it. You can change each element by itself, and that's what my script does. It's really easy to use, so let's go straight into that. I've opened a project which is really simple. It's just a composition, 720p, 24 frames per second, 1 minute long, and I've got some sources, some guys, two guys I made using the South Park generator character, and two ladies. The script works this way: you define an area where you want your crowd to be, and then you fill it with the elements you want it to be filled with. So I'm going to create a new solid. I'm gonna make it like 150 by 1000. I'm gonna call it zone. That's mandatory. The script detects all the solid layers that are called zone, so you just have to have the four first characters right. So I can call it zone 1, for example, which is kind of easy. Okay, now I'm going to add a new camera. Okay, yes, I know. Switch it to 3D layer, rotate it to have a ground plane, and then new null object, 3D, parent the camera on it, separate dimensions, and I'm going to play a bit with that, and then rotation, so I can have a clear view at my zone. Let's go back to the solid settings a bit. I'm going to change its color, and you'll see why it's important, the color of the solid. I'm going to put it slight gray. You don't need an exact value, but just for now, slight gray. And now I've defined my first area. So in this area, in this zone, I'm going to have a crowd. I can create a second one, but we'll see that later. Now, just a quick save. I'm going to take all my guys layer, multiple composition, 1 second. Okay, I'm going to do the same with the ladies, and I'm going to create a new folder called people. Quite easy enough, and I'm going to put all this composition in my people folder. So the script need to fill the area with compositions, so that's why we created composition from my assets here. And in order to the script to know where and which composition to use, we have to put it in a single folder. So my folder people will be used to fill my zone up. Let's close this, my zone area. So now that I've set up my project, let's go to the script. So run script file, open. Of course you will have to register it, so you will have a nice registration box, but then after you will have something like that. It can look a bit complicated, just like that, so let me explain a few of the options. Crowdify is going to create the crowd. Parameters, and we'll see that later, will allow us to change some parameters in the script generation. in the crowd generation. Reload project is when you start the script, make some modification of your areas or the name of the areas, or you had some composition in the people folder, and you will have to reload the project so the script can have the latest version. We have here the zone comp selection. So here you select the composition in which you have the zone layers. So here it's crowd control. It's my main composition. It selected it by default because it's the first in the list. And you can see that it has detected one zone layer. And just to show you, if I create a second solid, let's call it zone 2, and I'm going to make it square for change. Just it's have to be minus in the final version. I will capitalize it or use some magic scripting to make it work with zone written like that or no matter, but for now it's just minus characters. Okay, I'm going to put it in 3D, rotate minus. Oh, I'm going to change the color just so you know, you'll see what it does. And I'm going to change its position right over there. So now you see it doesn't update, but if I hit reload project, now I have my two zones here. Here you have a drop down to select a ground layer. We don't have any ground layer for now, and you can skip this option right now. Then you have the agent comp selection. Agents is the name I use for the elements that will fill the crowd. I may change it because it kind of be confusing, so maybe I change it. Here you have the full list of folders I have in my project, and I'm going to select people. Once again, it was selected by default because it was the first in the list. I keep the checkbox use density right now, and you'll see what it does. I want to autocap my agents. Here you can define the max people you want on your zone or on the all zones you've selected. If I select 1 and 2 zone, it will be 1,000 people for the 2 zones together. Autocap agents will fill it until it's full, and I'm going to tell you later how does it fill. So let's select my first zone and then hit Crowdify. I've got here a message box saying that we're going to build a 216 souls population. Is that my final answer? Yes or no? It's very useful if for some reason you messed up with a setting and you start to build hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of population, and you can, you know, it's after you click yes, there is no turning back until the generation is finished. As you can see here in the info panel, I've got some information. Total zones, so one zone will be filled. Here, zone 1. There are 4 agents, woman 1, 2, man 1, 2, and the crowd size. So here we go, and now it's going to build my crowd. You can see it uses the first character of the force, and now the second. You can see here it's getting updated. Here you have zone size 54. It's 54 per agents, so you have 54 copies of each layer. Let's wait a second. Now we are in the end process of it, because we know we are on man 2 and it's my last layer, so it shouldn't be too long. Okay, we did it. Go check our crowd. So what can we see here? I'm going to drag this up a bit. Oh, I'm kind of disappearing. Not important. So you can see that I've got all my layers here. They are by default shy. So if I enable the shy layer, I can see that I've got my zone. It created a null object here called zone controller, and the zone controller gives me the population of the zone here as marker and its density. So we are using 28% density of the layer maximum density. How is the density calculated? It's the average width of every comp here to calculate how much we can put people on the width, and for the depths I'm using a default value of 10 pixels. So for now you cannot change this thickness, this layer thickness. It's hard coded, but I will add the option later on. So let's go back there. I'm going to add here a column, and just to show you the comments, I'm using the tagging elements for from Zoro, the layer tagger, the script by Lloyd Alvarez. So if you are using Zoro on complex project or on any project, this is by default compatible with it. I fill it with some comments, and you can see that the comment is the name of the zone and the name of the agent. You can see that all the layers are properly named. Zone 1, woman 1, and it's the 54th copy. As you can see, it starts at 0. And you can see that I've done nothing on the composition itself. It was a 1 second long composition, and it's a 1 second long composition. I'm going to unclutter my UI. So now you can see that it has created a new layer. I'm a bit too big, I don't like that. Okay, that's better. In this new folder, it has created 4 new folders, and by default the script creates a folder for each zone and each agent of each zone to store the duplicates. Here by default I just duplicate one time the composition, so these compositions are always left untouched. And if I rerun the script like that on zone 2, as the composition must be in the root folder, my script don't read subfolders, it won't add these copies on the next run. So you can see that if I disable this one, it disables every copy, because every layer is referencing this single layer, this single composition, here, there, and there. That's the first basics. It might be very useful if you want to leave the crowd as is in the background, and you have not much any option. Maybe if you want to create a camera move, you can of course select each layer and offset it, and to create more eye pleasing animation. And if you want to make a modification, of course, as we've just seen on one of these layers, composition, sorry, then it will be added on every items. Now I would like to just show you something different. I'm going to hide all this down. I'm going to just keep my 2 zones, and I'm going to do the exact same thing on zone 2, which is a smaller layer. And if I hit CrowdCodile, you will see that we're going to have a 371 soul population. And how does it come that this smaller layer gets more people? It's because I use density, and the density of the layer is defined by its luma value. So a 100% white layer will be filled at 10% of its density. Once again, the density is the middle value of all the width plus a layer thickness set at 10. And if you use a 100% black solid, it will be filled at 90% of the layer density. I don't go up to 100% because it feels very much crowded. So let's say that it's somehow a security reason. And if I don't use density, all the layers, zone layers, will be filled at 80% of their density, because I find it's a sweet spot. Tell me if you need to, if you want to have an option to adjust this default density, maybe 50% or so. And of course, the max agent will fill this one and this one all together, and you will have 1000 agents or whatever you put here. So that was just to show you how density works. Now let's go to the parameters, and you see there are plenty of parameters, and I'm just going through them very quickly. The force agent orientation, force the orientation of the crowd to be facing the layer. So the orientation of my zone 1 layer is towards me, so all the layers are towards me. Wait a second, I might be saying something wrong. No, it's okay. Let's go back to the parameters. So if I don't use force agents orientation, the orientation will be random. Allow overflow allows the layers to be a bit outside. If I can go there, you see that this layer is a bit outside of my my composition, my zone layer, and the script can generate up to the right to the border. If you don't want the layers here, this composition to be outside of the zone, for some reason, you can then uncheck allow overflow, so everything will be really centered in the zone. On the agent behavior, by default it's stand up, because crowds are usually standing up, they are not flat on the ground. We can use a ground layer, and we're gonna see that right just after, so I'm going to check it. You can duplicate layers, and we are going to see that right now, so I'm going to check it. And then you have the option separate layers, individual loop and individual random, and I'm going to show you that a bit later. Agent animation, here by default it's none, so if I go back there, you can see that by default it's basic duration. If I select loop animation, the duration of the layer will be extended through the duration of the composition, and then a loop expression will be applied on it. If you don't want expression, you can uncheck here live links, and it will create keyframes instead. If you select a static frame, it will take the first frame of the agent composition and then freeze frame it, and the duration will be extended up to the length of the composition. If you select random frame, it will randomly select a frame of the agent composition, and then do the same, extend here the layer up to the length of the composition. and if you select none, it will leave the composition as is. Using loop animation, static frame and random frame lowers the render time, because of course it's using expression and it's using the time remap feature, which can be slow when you have hundreds and hundreds of layers. So that's it. Agent positioning, here it's random, but you can select an array, so you can have the crowd organized in columns, in rows, or in both. It will generate a grid. Let's stick to random. Shy zone layers, so if you check this, when I go there, the zone layers, those layers will be shied also. Let's get back here. Hide zone layers, it will just disable them. Shy agent layers by default, so you can easily unclutter your composition by simply clicking the show or hide shy layers. Zero tagging, if you don't want comments, you can uncheck. I don't know why you would do that, but maybe it can save you some precious second during the generation, I don't know. And live link, every expression used will be keyframed. This will allow for faster rendering but slower generating, because I have to write keyframes for everywhere instead of just an expression, so it can be real time consuming. So let's go uncheck use ground layer and duplicate layers. I'm going to show that. So now let's imagine we are in a stadium, and of course you want your crowd to be standing up on your stage. You will probably have to make a slight rotation. Let's here add a rotation to have a bit of a side view. Up. And you want your crowd to be standing. If we generate the crowd like this without selecting round layers, it will not work, sadly. So I'm going to add a new solid, and I'm going to call it ground. It can be called everything as long as it's a solid, but for easiness purpose I'm going to call it ground. I don't care about its size. Let's make it small. Let's make it 3D, and let's make it minus 90 degrees. So I am flat if I use the front view. Oh. I can see it's flat, even though my big layer hides it. Let's go back to my active camera. Now I have to reload project. You see now that it has detected a ground layer. I'm going to select down to ground layer, and it will also duplicate comps, and let's see how this works. Just not to clutter too much for this demonstration, I'm going to lower the density, or I could just define max agent to 30, for example, and then crowdify 30 soul population. Yes, it is, and it's going to create my population. And if I just change here once again the rotation, I can see that my people here are standing up on my layer. I don't know if I can use the side view, left view, and you can see they are standing up like the ground layer. So let's go back to active camera, and now you can see that in my people folder I've got a new folder called zone 2. That's nice. this zone 2 layer, I've got in those 2 folders, sorry, I've got the 4 folders like before, and now you'll see that I've got a duplicate for each and every generated agent. So every soul in this town is having its own composition. That can be really useful if you generate truly random crowds, and we're gonna see that just after. And this also can be very useful if you want to just change one character. Let's say this one you don't like, or you want to change the hair color or adjust a setting. You can now individually adjust every settings you want on each and every of them. So you can of course delete one, or hide just a group, for example in the middle here. If I don't want that in the middle, I can just hide them and back and forth, and that can be really practical. And with that, I'm going to show you the last option, which is separate layers. Yes, I could have shown how to use that also, but we'll see a bit later. In my sources, I'm going to show you I've got some separated layers, and I'm going to create a new comp from that. Okay, and you can see that I've got I spent too much time on the South Park generator at southparkstudios.com, so I've got some basic skin guys. I'm going to add some hair on top of it. My hair layer is longer, so let's do this and make it a 1 minute layer. Okay, so you can see I've got a lot of options for the hair. I've got some pants too, a lot of options for pants, and I've got some shirts. So here we have, and I'm going to put just 5 seconds because we just need that, even less, but let's stay that way. Okay, so I've got my main basics. Let's do the exact same thing with the lady. So I'm going to create a new comp from, I imagine the hair is the longest version, the hair layer, then the female body, the pants, and the shirt. So now I've got the same things, and I'm going to copy those 2 compositions into a new folder that I'm going to call people random. Oh, people 2 is going to be okay. People 2 or people random. Okay, better. Random people. And I'm going to put it in the root folder of my project. Now I'm going to create a third zone, so let's uncheck everything. Yeah, I am not using Zorro right now, but Zorro would have been really useful for that situation where I've got a group hidden and another not hidden. So okay, let's close this, hide this, and select everything, position, and I'm going to re-put my camera there. And let's say I'm going to delete all my zone 1 stuff. Oops, I've gone too far. So now I've only got people in my zone 2. So now I'm going to reload the project. Hopefully it will work. I've got random people right here. I'm going to select zone 1, and in my parameters I'm going to use the separate layer option. I've got two options here. Individual loop. It will be looping every single layer that is in my that are in my compositions. So it will loop hair, it will loop shirts, it will loop pants, and it will loop basics. Or individual random, then it's going to select a random frame, and that's what we want, and the duration will be extended to the whole composition. Here I'm going to select static frame because the randomness is happening inside the composition, the agent composition. I don't need to have it happen here at this level, at the agent level. So I can just select static frame and see what it does. I say OK, and then I'm going to cap it at 50, for example. Crowdify. That's not nice, but it works. A little bug from my dear friend After Effects. And you can see as it's generating, it generated a completely random crowd, and that's look kind of nice. I'm going to move that on my face. Now I'm going to put that here to fill up position, and then to just adjust so we can see there. If we go to the random here, we've got our two compositions, then subfolders as usual, and then you can see for every single duplicate it created a new random guy based on the layers. And if I check U to reveal the keyframe, it's just a time remap, a random time remap, and then it's extended all the way to the composition. And you can see, if I uncheck showing layer, you can see that here it's the same. It created a time remap at time 0, and then it expanded on all my composition duration. So that's basically how it works. I've closed the script because I thought I wouldn't need it again, but I'm going to reopen it again. Just a second. I think After Effects doesn't like me anymore. Maybe I'm going to hide this and to refresh the memory. File, script, run script file. Okay, sorry, I just had a little problem, a little crash, but it's okay. So I don't know until where it recorded, so let's just go back to what I've disabled from this build. So I've disabled the help button here because the help is not ready yet. I've disabled the enumerator, which is a neat option that will add control layer, a new layer on every zone, and that will control via expression all the behaviors and animation for all your crowd people, your souls. So you will be able to drag and drop animation presets on this master, and it will be used by all the crowd in the crowd. So that's kind of neat, and I'm just starting to work on it right now, so that's why it's not a label yet. And the last option is here, the pre-comp zones. I'm planning to add, and it's almost ready, an option to pre-comp the zone. So it will do 3D pre-comp with rasterized zone, so it still stay in the same 3D space. So these are the 3 options I've not added yet. So feel free to test it thoroughly. I know there are some options that might in some combination not work as expected. If you encounter any bug or any crash or anything, please tell me. If you need anything special, whether it's in the crowd generation or in the future option like the animation, tell me. And 2 pieces of advice before I let you go try it. The first is use duplicate layers as little as possible. I mean that after 600 or 700 layers or more, around 1,000, it's After Effects becomes really slow creating new items in the project item. So if let's say you want to create 10,000 crowd, it will be fast for the first 1,000, and then it will become slower and slower and slower for the 9 other 1,000, and it can really take a while, and by a while I mean several hours. So if you don't need to duplicate layers, don't duplicate them. And if you need to create very large crowds, I recommend using smaller zones and doing little batch by little batch, maybe little batch by little batch on different project, and then bring back all the project together in one big project. The other thing is, if you have more than 2,000 layers inside your control here, or inside 2,000 lines and 2,000 lines here, the UI will go black after you go through the 2,000th one. It's a known bug at on After Effects. It's just the UI memory is just 32 bits, so after a certain amount of pixel in width, in height, it's just render black because it's out of memory. It doesn't kill anything. If you go back up, you'll see everything goes back. So that's why using Zoro is a good option, because it will help you to avoid these problems. And last but not least, as for the duplicate layers, when you're starting to have 2,000 layers in one composition, it's becoming slower and slower to add composition to add layers inside this composition. So if you need to really build very large crowds, I recommend you using multiple zones, maybe in multiple pre-comps, so it's stay as fast as it can. Of course, if you can just launch the crowd generation before leaving work and get it just in the morning, it will be good too. So that's it. That's all the basics option. Should be pretty straightforward, as long as you know how the zoning here works with the zone and prefix for all the layers that will be considered by zone, and it only works on solid layers. And same here, as long as you know that you have to put your people composition inside a folder, and then select this folder, it goes like a breeze. So hope you'll enjoy it. Feel free to send me any feedback you want on my email address. You should have it. It's yenaphe@gmail.com, yenaphe @gmail.com, and you can talk me about this on Twitter or anywhere I am. See you soon for the next build. Bye.